That bombshell story about Donald Trump and a Playboy Playmate of the Year. Karen McDougal's her name. The story is breaking in the New Yorker right now, reporting that the National Enquirer bought the rights to McDougal's account of an affair with Trump but never published it. The author, Ronan Farrow, is standing by. We're going to talk to him after this background on the centerfold model at the center of his story. She's the former Playboy model, speaking out for the first time since her deal with the National Enquirer, which paid $150,000 for the exclusive rights to her claims of an affair with Donald Trump in 2006, less than 2 years after he married his current wife, Melania. The National Enquirer never published the story, saying it didn't find it credible. But the deal prevented McDougal, seen here in these recently posted Instagram photos, from telling her story. Now the New Yorker is reporting it obtained an 8-page document from one of McDougal's friends chronicling her account of the affair with Trump, which McDougal confirmed to be written in her own handwriting. McDougal wrote she met Trump at a party in June 2006 at the Playboy Mansion, after Trump taped an episode of his reality show, The Apprentice. She added that Trump immediately took a liking to me, kept talking to me, telling me how beautiful I was. According to The New Yorker, McDougal's document describes their first date as dinner in a private bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where they had sex. Quote, "We talked for a couple of hours, then it was on. Then," McDougal wrote, "he offered me money. I looked at him and felt sad. Said, no thanks, I'm not that girl." Afterward, she went to see him every time he was in L.A., which was a lot. And he hid the fact that he paid for her travel. "Every time I flew to meet him," she wrote, "I booked paid for flight and hotel, and he reimbursed me." She also writes that an affair between Trump and adult film actress Stormy Daniels, which he has denied, began while he and McDougal were together as well. And according to The New Yorker, McDougal's affair with Trump lasted 9 months. McDougal's notes say she ended the relationship in April 2007. White House says this is old news. They deny the affair. We're joined now by Ronan Farrow of The New Yorker. Ronan, thanks for coming back again this morning. So, Wall Street Journal, I remember, just a couple days before the election, wrote about the National Enquirer paying $150,000 for this story. But you have a lot of brand new stuff here, including those handwritten notes.
Right. So this is new on a couple of levels. One is the underlying chronicle of the affair reveals a lot of important patterns that we're now seeing in the multiple accounts of either consensual affairs or alleged non-consensual activity with Trump.
Right. One of the things we know, for example, just recently we've seen this payment, $130,000 to Stormy.
So this is the other, I think, systemic thing revealed by the account of this story from Karen McDougal. She feels that she was trapped into an exploitative contract that bound her to silence, and that's something she finds very frustrating.
Let's talk about this pattern we see here and what exactly the National Enquirer did. It's called catch and kill. You pay for the rights to a story, then you don't run the story. They say it was because they didn't find the story credible.
Correct. And 6 former AMI employees tell me in this story that that's not the case, that this was a routine activity by David Pecker, the head of the National Enquirer, who has publicly pledged his loyalty to Trump, and that, this is the interesting and potentially troubling dimension, George. These, dirty stories about high-profile individuals would be used as leverage over those individuals. Obviously, national security implications here when that happens to be the president.
So you make it sound like the president's vulnerable to blackmail from the National Enquirer because they did him this favor?
That we don't use the word blackmail, but multiple AMI employees use terms like leverage, influence.
So is this the kind of thing that David Pecker, National Enquirer, would do without ever telling Trump or without getting permission, him not directing it?
Well, that's the question. I mean, our reporting certainly suggests that, again, according to those AMI insiders, there was knowledge of this loyalty to Trump and that this flowed from that. We do not report that Trump ordered this.
Now, McDougal still cannot talk about the affair.
So this is an interesting question. She says she cannot. AMI, in a comment, we gave them a very full opportunity to give their perspective in this story, as we always do, says, actually now we feel she can speak in response to legitimate journalistic inquiries. She and her representatives feel that that is not the case, looking at the letter of the contracts.
So tell us about this 8-page document. Why was it created? How did you get it?
She wrote a detailed chronicle of this affair in the course of selling this story. Now, she didn't run out and pitch this story herself, by her account.
This is back in 2016, summer of 2016.
Correct. She talks about having watched television with a friend she was staying with, and that friend urged her to write down the story, potentially to sell it. And that, I think, in her view, caught her unawares. She was sort of backed into a situation where she feared the story was going to leak, and she signed this deal after pitching it in several places. She, I think, readily admits that she consented to that deal, but feels now the heavy burden of silence.
And you're saying in recent days and weeks, the National Enquirer has come back again with more offers?
In the wake of the Stormy Daniels story, these revelations about other infidelity on the part of Trump, allegedly, there has been an uptick in contact between AMI, this media company, and Karen McDougal. They did have intermittent contact with her over the past year, but according to multiple sources and documents that we have, that contact has sharply increased, and as recently as several days ago, they were aggressively seeking to have her sign new contracts.
What new does this tell us about President Trump?
That in this country, the most powerful and wealthy men can command an elaborate system to silence people with stories about them that they don't want out in the public. And obviously, for a sitting president to be the beneficiary of such a system is a pretty unprecedented thing.
We now know this has happened with Stormy Daniels to some degree, some kind of a payment. Now, Karen McDougal, you think it's the last one?
You know, I only comment on reporting we've put out.
Ronan Farrow, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.